Hello, everyone, and welcome live to 3 Wide TV and tonight's broadcast of the Talkin Giants 150 from the Pocono Raceway here for the Total Nonstop Racing League. It is the Schue's Lawn Care Service Cup Series here on the channel. I am Peter Shorten. Alongside me is none other than Garrett Gleason. And Garrett, like you can see, already in practice, about 4 minutes left, and is currently John Cannizzaro fastest of all by just 1/100th of a second over Tom Bourne. Very, very tight. Up at the top here at the Tricky Triangle, Pocono Raceway, as it is known. 3 corners, 3 unique corners, and no turn 4 here tonight, G.
No turn 4, Peter, and as excited as I was to get back on broadcast with you for our viewers here on 3Y TV, that was just put to rest by John Cannizzaro being top of the charts here in practice, Peter. There is nothing that upsets me more. Maybe his paint scheme upsets me a little bit too, Peter, but John Cannizzaro just churning my stomach. But the good news is we're at Pocono. A lot of these guys were here yesterday for the cup race. They know this track. They enjoy it for its unique characteristics and the 3 distinct turns like you mentioned. And we're going to see if any of that knowledge from yesterday maybe helped these guys out a little bit.
Well, John Cannizzaro Jr. right now trying to break the graphics that we have here on 3 Wide TV, saying he couldn't drive a paper airplane out of a windshield washer container. I'm not sure what a windshield washer container is, and he's also supposedly living life 1,000 RPMs at a time, but that is, I hope his heart doesn't beat at 1,000 RPMs. That would be a problem. Probably find himself in hospital if that were to happen, but Cannizzaro just beat his best lap time, another 200ths of a second taken off his best lap. Now extends that gap to a whopping 300ths of a second. Philip Scott currently sitting in third as Cannizzaro gets a little bit slideways through one. Good save there in the Mopar Dodge. That looks kind of like a Chevrolet. But let's see who else we got out there here tonight. Your second fastest driver, the number 16 of Tom Bourne. A good-looking ride for that Ford Fusion. Got the Greg Biffle type number there on the side of that number 16. He's going to try and put himself top of the charts, although not able to do so. Going to kind of spin it down to the inside of the racetrack. So, Garrett, we've mentioned back at Daytona, it's been a couple of weeks since we were last on 3Y TV, how difficult these cars are to drive. We had Phoenix last week, Chuck Sweeting getting to go to victory lane in the first ever darkness-shortened TNR event. Tell the viewers what all went down last week at Phoenix.
Well, Peter, the league administrator, who shall remain nameless, but shares a name with me, actually, decided to not listen to the guidance given to him by Philip Scott, who said, Retro Phoenix does not have lights. You better back it off from sunset to afternoon. So me thinking, I think late afternoon is good enough this time of year because it sets at 9 o'clock, we'll be fine. Well, I guess the game thought it was March and sunset at I don't even remember if it was 7 o'clock. So as the race is going on and I was out there on track with these guys, everybody starts realizing we're running out of daylight. So we're going to try to make it to lap 100. We can't make it to lap 100. Finally, we said we're racing to halfway, and these Total Nonstop Racing drivers did a tremendous job not wrecking each other, not being able to see out there, and I think a lot of them, Peter, actually had a ton of fun. But the first ever darkness-shortened Total Nonstop Racing event, and Chuck Sweeting came home with the checkered flag.
Oof, Bill Edwards there getting a big piece of the wall. He might not be seeing any light either, as the number 47 is looking very confident here. Mike Floppy Tellier thinking he's already won the race before we even see the green flag, doing some burnouts here on the front stretch, maybe getting some practice in as well. Not sure whether or not we'll see him in victory lane tonight, but he's getting some burnouts in anyway. There's the number 10 machine going out there on the racetrack. That is Johnny Williams coming up to speed as the practice session does come to an end, and like we mentioned, it is none other than John Cannizzaro that, can't really say that he wins practice, but he was fastest of all. We'll see whether or not he can back that up as we go into qualifying. These drivers will have about 5 minutes, Garrett, to go out there on the racetrack. It is a long racetrack, 2.5 miles. Lap times coming in just under a minute in length with these old Gen 4 cars. So you got to get out here. You got to get a lap time in nice, quick, and smoothly.
Yeah, it's going to be key to get up to speed, Peter, almost like a restrictor play track for these guys. Get that max speed, get a good exit out of turn 3 down that very long front stretch if you want to put in the hot lap like John Cannizzaro did in practice. So I think these guys will want to start up near the front at a place like Pocono. But I also, Peter, expect a little bit of a strategy race tonight. I think maybe fuel mileage could get these guys who start towards the back a little bit of an opportunity to make up that track position. So I'm going to keep an eye here on qualifying, but I don't think if somebody starts near the rear that necessarily precludes them from winning this race.
Yeah, plenty of time to make your way up through the field. We will have, of course, rolling stages here on lap number 15 and lap number 30 here tonight. Top 8 drivers will be awarded points at the conclusion of that lap. Here's Bronson Stafford out there on the racetrack, the starlet from Daytona about a month ago. Bronson working his way through turn number 3 right now. Let's go see some others. Here's the drumstick machine. Great looking ride on that number 34. Robert Kenny there. Love that paint scheme. You see that picture right there. Not sure what that picture is of. I guess he's wearing one of them suits for that picture, but making it known that he is a New England Patriots fan. Of course, it is the Talkin Giants 150 here tonight, so we'll be, I mean, I'm a Cowboys fan. It's hard for me to say we'll be talking about Giants. The only time I like talking about Giants is when they're losing, but I know, Garrett, you're a Giants fan through and through, and I know we got some others in the league, like the number 64 machine out there of Vincent Valvana. They're in the Talkin Giants Ford, but definitely get a couple of NFL fans out there on the racetrack tonight.
Absolutely, Peter, and it's that time of year now where the camps will start opening up. We'll have some roster battles, and that's what a podcast like Talkin Giants gets into. This time of year, you might the casual fan might not be thinking about who's going to make the 5th and 6th wide receiver position on the Giants or start to be the backup free safety, but some of us junkies love to listen to the podcasts for stuff like that, those little nuggets that you get, and Bobby and Justin do a tremendous job with Talkin Giants, and it's amazing to see them here on Vinny's race car, and Vinny's the one that sponsored this race, to thank them for doing that. So, yeah, definitely if you're a Giants fan, tune in Talkin Giants, and whether it's a good season or a bad season, they certainly have the content, and they do a tremendous job and put that effort in. But, Peter, it's tough to beat the Cowboys sometimes, it's tough to beat the Eagles, and you just got to pick on the Washington Commanders a bit when you need some morale boosts.
Yeah, I'll say that's often the easy thing to do, and if even if they're having a good season, well, you can always pick fun at FedEx Field as well. Hopefully, there's no Washington Commanders fans in the chat, but who knows? There might be. It's all fun and games. As John Cannizzaro is having a little bit of fun and games out there on the racetrack, currently second fastest of all. But this is the lap we expect to be the fast one. But John Cannizzaro Jr. not able to back up his practice time. He will be currently third fastest, as Philip Scott, the number 99 machine, currently fastest of all. Shane Ewing in the number 32, currently sitting in second fastest in his Ford Taurus. And it is that Dodge right there, the number 99, peeling off the racetrack right now. Philip Scott, currently fastest of all.
Wow, Ninja Phil. Didn't expect to see him necessarily on the provisional pole here as qualifying is wrapping up, but that's bad news for the rest of the field, because Philip has shown that when he gets out front, he's certainly hard to pass, hard to beat, and I enjoy seeing it. We got a good group up towards the front here between Philip and Shane Ewing and even Cannizzaro. I don't want to mention his name too loudly. He might think I like him, but DJ Weeks, nice to see DJ back. I talked to him earlier today, asked if he was allowed to come race tonight, and why wouldn't we want somebody like DJ out on track? Always fast, always a good competitor, but not so fast on the speed chart right now, Peter, and that's kind of a bit surprising considering how successful he was last season.
Yeah, DJ Weeks currently sitting 14th and will not improve as the number 97 packs it into the outside wall right there in turn number 3. So tough break for TJ Weeks and the sorry about that, folks. Forgot the time counter, and as you can see, it has hit 0. So Philip Scott on the pole here tonight. Great qualifying run for the World Ninja League machine. He will be one very, very, very happy camper. That is for certain. But Garrett, we heard a couple of people talk prior to the race about maybe saving fuel. They were saying about 18 laps on fuel. You'd have to do that, 20, 20, and then 20 at the end. You'd have to save a lot of fuel, 6 total laps, but this is a racetrack where you can actually save fuel. There aren't a lot of racetracks where you can do that, but Pocono is one of them. You just back off a little bit earlier on entry into the corner. Let's bring up tonight's starting lineup, though, for everyone at home. Starting on the pole will be the number 99 of Philip Scott. Shane Ewing will be to his outside. John Cannizzaro Jr., Tom Bourne on row number 2. Chuck Sweeting, last week's race winner, from the inside of row number 3 with Bill Edwards to his outside. Then back behind him, Jake Bustos, Matt Muir in the number 77. Jonathan Gaston and Robert Kenny round out our top 10 there, Garrett.
Our good friend, Floppy in the 47, will roll off in 11th. Bob Giaquinto to his outside, starting 12th. 13th, Talkin Giants machine, Vincent Valvano. DJ Weeks, I expect that car to make a charge from the back, Peter, in 14th. Bronson Stafford, very successful at our Daytona races, will start 15th. Jason Schue to his outside in the 16th starting position. Brendan Buchwald will roll off in 17th. And Johnny Williams, welcome back, Johnny, will be shotgun on the field in 18th position. And Garrett Gleason is in the booth, finally where he needs to be.
Yeah, not out there on the racetrack. I'm sure all these drivers will be very thankful you're not out there on the racetrack this week, Garrett, as the iRacing.com pace track will be slowly getting rolling here in just a little bit.
Peter, did you see that? Did you see that woman skydiving? That was actually, I thought that was one of those giant padded mats they put out for her to land into, but that was actually Doza's girlfriend, and that was the actual size of her bed that she landed in. So that was amazing. I've never seen anything like that.
I must have just been looking at the live timing and scoring, but I believe you. I believe you. Doze not in the field here tonight. Maybe he was supporting his skydiving girlfriend.
Peter, if he was under that mattress, under that mat, he's gone. There's no way.
Yeah, we'll have to get the officials out there. Hopefully there's no craters left in the earth after that. But I don't know. Maybe that's what made the camera shake. But what's going to make the camera shake in about a lap from right now is these drivers rolling around the racetrack at full song as they head off towards turn number 1. Let's get a quick look of the racetrack. Here is the entry into turn number 1. There, of course, is the exit out of turn number 1. You got to watch this exit right here. That outside retaining wall there on the left-hand side of your screen comes up mighty quick and has been the end of many people's race here at Pocono. It is a racetrack where just a little bit of damage can really ruin your night. It's downforce extremely important with the high speeds here and this 2.5-mile racetrack. As you notice, turn number 1 down there at the end is the highest banked corner of this racetrack before you get turn number 2 here, which is a little bit flatter and a little bit sharper than turn number 1. And then, of course, you get to turn number 3, which is the flattest corner of the racetrack right here. I believe, if I remember correctly, one of the corners, Garrett, is kind of stylized off of Trenton Speedway. One of the corners is stylized off of Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and I believe the other one is based off of the Milwaukee Mile, if memory serves me correct. I might be wrong. Maybe someone in the chat can correct me here tonight. I want to thank you for tuning in to 3Y TV. Tyler Avery in the chat rooting on Johnny. Johnny Williams said hello before he gets rolling. And, of course, the Windsor's always rooting on Bill Edwards. iRacing Pace Truck is heading down onto pit road. Green flag is in the flagman's hand. We're about to get rolling here at the Pocono Raceway. The field scatters as they put the power down. Everyone getting rolling to a nice, clean start. We're racing here at Pocono, Garrett.
Peter, they might be trying 3 wide here going to turn 1. I don't know if I'd recommend that this early in the race, but we're going to watch these guys go. It's easy to go side by side here at Pocono. We'll see them using that high line to get some momentum here off of the corner, and you will see them carry that down this little straightaway here into turn 2. But these guys are looking eager to race, Peter, and they got a full race this week, unlike last week. So, we already have problems towards the back of the pack, it looks like.
Yeah, Johnny Williams had a little bit of a moment in turn number 1. He's able to keep it going. We'll jump back up to the front of the field. Here is Philip Scott side by side with Shane Ewing in the number 32. They head off towards turn number 3, almost side by side for the entire lap. Almost had 3 wide on 3 wide TV on the first lap. Shane Ewing using that little bit darker patch up there that was the fastest way around this racetrack for a while in iRacing. They gave a little bit extra grip to that line, but looks like for right now, it was the number 99 of Philip Scott able to hold on to that race lead. But Garrett, we've seen the number 99 of Philip Scott really get better over the past couple of seasons about saving his stuff. With the racetrack so hot and so slick, you are going to want to have to save your tires here tonight if you want to have a shot on the long run, especially if we do not get a lot of cautions rather, and we stay mostly green flag. Let's see if we can bring up the current weather conditions there on the right-hand side of your screen. There we go. Current track temperature, 118 degrees Fahrenheit. That is going to be very, very hot and very, very slick for these drivers as Cannizzaro racing with Bill Edwards. Now Edwards under fire from the number 16 machine right there of Tom Bourne, who works his way back up into 4th spot. That's where he qualified here tonight. So our top 4, Garrett running exactly where they started. First driver to pick up a spot, Bill Edwards riding in 5th right now.
Yeah, Bill, first guy making a move here in the top 5, but that's not to say our race has been boring by any stretch, Peter. These guys were side by side, but seems like they have it figured out now, and the track temperature that you alluded to makes me think of Philip Scott. It makes me think of John Cannizzaro, guys who are kind of on edge. Somebody like Shane Ewing, though, a veteran, experienced driver, might be able to have the tire advantage. And Peter, another thing I'm thinking about, Philip Scott was one of those guys that we interviewed before the race and said that, you might have to stretch that fuel mileage. Well, being out front leading, not the best thing for fuel mileage. So if one of these guys gets to his back bumper, I'm not sure he's going to fight them make it all that difficult for them to pass.
Yeah, definitely is a little bit trickier to save fuel out front when you are pulling the whole train. Here we go, a little bit further back in the pack. This is the number 72, Jonathan Gaston, was looking to the inside of Mike Floppy Taylor. Nothing doing there, and he will get back in line. I think just like that, the entire field is now single file going all the way back to the last car right there in this front pack, that being Jason Schue. We are hearing, though, let's see if we can bring up the 3-wide TV replay of something has happened to Johnny Williams. Johnny, who was in the field here tonight, got loose out of turn number 3, pancaked the outside wall. That is heavy, heavy contact. Then pancaking the inside wall, equally as heavy contact. He just kind of pulls it over to the side of the racetrack and hops out. That will not bring out the caution flag, as he was off the racing surface. That's the good news. But up at the front of the field, whoa, Bob Giaquinto there at the top of the screen just before we came back live. Bob had a big moment. I think maybe we're starting to see these race cars get a little bit loose out of turn number 3. We saw it happen to Johnny Williams the lap prior. Now Bob Giaquinto having problems.
Yeah, these on your end.
How has that happened, Garrett?
I don't know, but I'm cracking up now, just thinking that we've been calling a race to each other.
No, I definitely knew at one point we were live. At one point we were live, and I must have accidentally hit the button, folks. Go back and rewind. At what point did we lose audio? Man, that kills me. That absolutely kills me. I'm not even holding Caulfield. But folks, it's been a pretty good race. Hopefully we have audio for the second half of the race. Man, I can't believe that. I must have hit the audio. I promise you, I did verify at one point, Garrett, that we did have audio. So I don't know. I don't know what's happened. I've had some computer glitches just prior to the race. One of my apps was crashing, but I'll credit this one to me. I bet you it happened when I went to one of the replays or something, and I must have clicked the wrong button. So I apologize for that, folks. But thanks for letting us know in the chat.
I was calling a tremendous race, Peter, and there's no witnesses other than you, and you'll probably lie under oath. So I guess we'll just have to do a fantastic job here for the second half of the race. If you're just tuning in, you're just hearing our voice. Philip Scott been out front and pretty dominant so far. We're keeping our eye on Chuck Sweeting, who has moved up into second place after a battle with the 16 of Bourne. And there's some different strategies and whatnot going on, but I appreciate everyone sticking through listening to race card noises instead of Peter and I on 3Y TV.
I'm banging my head against the table right now. I had a rough day at work, folks, and this is not helping. But out there with the racetrack, we got good racing. That is what's helping. And Canizaro Jr. is coming down to make his second pit stop. First driver to come down and make the second pit stop of the race right around the halfway mark here as Philip Scott trying to do the trifecta here tonight. Stage one at the end of lap number 15, and then on lap number 30, we get the stage points handed out again for the end of stage number 2. We're just about one lap away from the stage points happening, and when that happens, well, that man in the number 99 will be 8 points richer, but he is slowly being run down by the number 75 of Chuck Sweeting. Let's see if we can bring up kind of the graphic here that will hopefully tell that story. You can see it's gone from about 2 seconds down to about 1.5 seconds. So about a tenth of a second per lap in favor of Chuck Sweeting. The problem is there's still a lot of distance between them on the order of 1.6 seconds, as that number 99 has just looked rock solid since the drop of the green flag tonight.
Rock solid is the best way to put it, Peter. I mean, guys have been sideways, a little bit out of control, but I guess the least out of control car has been that 99 Dodge now this season of Philip Scott. So Philip's doing a tremendous job, and just like a lot of these guys, okay, they're here to win the race. They want to try to win the championship. Philip's goal after winning our championship last year, he wants to win championship after championship and just dominate. And yeah, race wins are great, but he's leading the race. He's getting those stage points, and he has a chance to win the race. So that all adds up. That's going to give him an advantage when it comes time for the playoffs. So Philip is doing absolutely everything he needs to do, and he's making it look pretty easy, but I don't think we can really close our eyes to the 75 of Chuck Sweeting, who, if there's a way to get it done, Chuck will definitely be there at the end and figure it out.
And Johnny Williams in the chat did some sleuthing, Garrett. It was when we did the replay for Bob, when Bob had his moment off of turn number 3. So I promise you we had the audio at some point, and then I need to maybe check my Stream Deck to make sure some buttons aren't overmapped or something like that, causing things to go mute. I've had that happen before, but we did have a couple of takers on pit road. We also had a couple of drifters off of turn number 3, as Bill Edwards and Tom Bourne both having a little bit of a moment there at the top of your screen. Also, the number 34, Robert Kenny, having a slide up there. As well, there's Mike Plot. Man, we just need to keep the camera on this corner right here, because everyone's kind of sliding out of the corner. Matt and Weir sliding on to pit road. Here comes Vincent Valvano. Vinny, are you going to get sideways? No, you kept things nice and neat. Good job in the Talkin Giants Ford. As it is, of course, the Talkin Giants 150. Go check them out and their podcast. So big shout out to them for sponsoring tonight's race here on 3Y TV and being a part of the Total Nonstop Racing League family in one way or another, as Philip Scott did take those bonus points. As here comes Chuck Sweeting coming down pit road. Oh, no, 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 no. Chuck kissing the inside wall and just getting them locked up coming down onto pit road. Going to lose a position there. Good news is doesn't look like there's any damage, but yeah, that's not what you want there, Garrett.
You don't expect a veteran driver like Chuck Sweeting to spin on pit road, but it happens to the best. It just proves how difficult it is to get these cars that are out of control down the pit road speed in a safe fashion. So I was actually thinking, Peter, when he was doing this, that he was going to short pit the 99, be able to gain that track position, maybe get that clean air, get out front. But just watch him. You get on the brakes a little too much speed, and he did a really good job not ruining his race day completely. He'll keep that 75 in contention, especially if a yellow comes out, be able to get back in the contention. But he's going to lose a couple spots, Peter, but it could have been a whole lot worse.
Yeah, definitely lost a couple of spots to some of those other drivers there. Shane Ewing, who I think was just on the fringe of a top 5. So Chuck might be able to still hold a top 5 position. But he's going to have a lot of work to do and a caution, I think, to catch up to this driver. Perhaps maybe even a mistake from Philip Scott, who, like we mentioned, has been rock solid here tonight. Just looking, we do still have audio. That's good. Maybe it's not my replay button that's screwed up, but maybe I'll mess around with my stream deck to make sure that doesn't happen again. But right now, the number 99 machine of Philip Scott out front. We expect to see him on pit road here shortly. Bronson Stafford currently rides in second, but pretty big gap all the way from turn number 3 to turn 2, all the way down that short stretch for our race leader, as Philip Scott does pull down onto pit road, not making a similar mistake, although did look a little bit fast. We'll see whether or not speeding police nabbed him. I didn't see anything super erratic out of that dodge. Typically, if you do speed, you try and lock him up, or you try and do something to really slow down. I didn't really see that out of Philip Scott, so this might just be a clean entry, as he is right there behind the iRacing.com official pace truck. Right side tires going on for the WorldNinjaLeague.org machine. Left side tires will be going on here shortly. Taking on that set of fuel. We'll wait for that Jackman to drop, and number 99 down and away. Good pit stop there by that crew. Mike Floppy Tellier inherits the race lead through the pit cycle, yet to make his second stop. Jake Bustos and DJ Weeks also still out there circulating on the racetrack. We expect to see one more stop for the number 74 here tonight. We also expect to see one more stop for Philip Scott as well. There is the number 99, though, not too far back, and there's a lot of saving that has to happen for Jake Bustos for him to go the distance. But, you know, it might just be working out where Bustos is saving enough fuel where he'd actually be in a better position than if he hadn't saved fuel. So it might work out in his favor, but still a lot of work left to do for the number 74 Impala here tonight, as our race leader going to encounter not necessarily lap traffic. This is for position as he looks to the inside of DJ Weeks, but pressure tires are going to mean everything at this point here. Garrett, is he able to make that pass here, move up behind Bustos, going to drop back down to the bottom side of the racetrack. This is a battle for the race lead, and wasn't much of a battle as the number 99 returns to the point.
No, it wasn't much of a battle, and it doesn't seem like Philip Scott wanted to take his time in traffic there, maybe draft, save a little fuel. Nope, wanted to get out front, back in the lead, and I guess you don't blame him when you're that fast. You don't want to be around anyone, take a chance of getting caught up in someone else's messes. We have a nice drag race here down the front stretch. That's our good friend Bob, who decided to ruin our audio for half of the broadcast with the 77 of Matt Muir. So I guess these two are out having a little bit of fun, and you know, there'll probably be a couple seconds, and Bob will ruin something else on us. Maybe he'll ruin the race for the 77. Selfish son of a gun.
Very selfish. Very, very selfish. But right now, not a whole lot of battles on the racetrack, although you see a big snake of cars down the front stretch. The Bronson Stafford there at the top of the screen having some connection issues. Edwards here with those fresher tires has moved up into second with that pass on Jake Bustos. So things going in favor right now of Bill Edwards. John Cannizzaro Jr. is currently riding in fifth, but has the oldest tires. Tom Bourne in sixth. Chuck Sweeting in seventh. So I think Chuck even with that big mistake, is still going to be in a top 5 position once DJ Weeks and Jake Bustos do finally come down pit road. So that's good news for Chuck. It just isn't as good as it could have been. Interesting also, Tom Bourne here, Garrett. Tom was racing there for quite some time with Chuck Sweeting, and even with Chuck Sweeting's big mishap, they're still kind of together out there on the racetrack. So not sure if something also happened to the number 16, but they're lockstep on the racetrack once more, and they are closing in on John Cannizzaro Jr., Jake Bustos, and company. There's DJ Weeks going to the top side of the racetrack. That will move the 16 up a spot. The number 75 following in suit. They're now kind of held up behind another big gaggle of card. Chuck Sweeting gonna go to the bottom side of the racetrack. I think that's Brandon Buchwald in the wall. And the number 96, the Timmy's Machine. And he's just going to let these leaders on by battle for spots as the 16 of Bourne now making a move on Bustos. The number 75 of Sweeting will try and follow when he can. Make that strong run out of turn number 3 that we've seen multiple times tonight. And will indeed do so, like the commentator said, for once, and move himself back up into the top 5. So Philip Scott out front right now. A big gap, about 4 seconds between our top 2. And then Cannizzaro another couple seconds back as Tom Bourne looks underneath him. That's a battle for 3rd out there on the racetrack. Number 16 gonna make that pass stick. Not yet, but Garrett, I don't think the older tires of Cannizzaro can hold him off, and Cannizzaro just lets him on by into 2.
Yeah, good move by both those guys. Didn't not really force the issue. I think the 16 of Tom Bourne knew he had the better tires there and was going to end up making that pass, and we're going to see our friend Chuck do the same here. But it's got to be frustrating, Peter, and not that Chuck and Tom Bourne have any sort of animosity between them, but to have to pass the same guy 3 times, I think, now in the same race, it has to get frustrating after a while. I mean, you obviously enjoy racing clean with the guy, but when you're faster and you put yourself in those positions where you have to keep making this pass, it just costs you time and it costs you the opportunity to move even further forward. But I enjoy watching the battle. Now, Chuck seems to have a good mastery of this racetrack down, especially that exit he's been getting that you alluded to.
I'm just looking at kind of the live timing and scoring here, Garrett, and this is kind of an interesting thing to note, actually. So Chuck Sweeting's pit lane time, even with that spin, was 50.22 seconds. That was 9 seconds slower than Philip Scott, who had a 41.38 second pit lane time. So he was 9 seconds slower than Philip Scott, but if you look at the live timing and scoring, there's only 7 seconds between those two. Well, technically 7.38 right now. So I think that the time that Chuck Sweeting lost on pit road could have been the difference between him leading this race and him currently riding in 4th position. So Chuck definitely has a fast race car. 20 laps to go. All he needs is the caution flag to get back into the mix. But we do know that he, I believe, will be on these tires to the end. Is that correct, Garrett? Do they only get 2 sets of tires, or do they get 3? I can't recall.
They have 3, so they would be able to change tires on this last pit stop, Peter. And I'm guessing these guys, as soon as they're in their window, they're going to make this last pit stop. They're not going to force the issue, I don't think, Peter, with this green flag feel of this race, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're almost in that window to make it the rest of the way. We do expect to see some of these drivers maybe take 3 or 4 more laps, but then kind of get a 15-lap shootout to the end. That's kind of what I would expect to see. Let's see whether or not that is true or not. Currently, this is the best battle on the racetrack. The only other battle for positions between Bronson Stafford and John Cannizzaro Jr., but Bronson has got around Cannizzaro Jr. and moved up into the top 5. Good run for Bronson Stafford here tonight. Started all the way back in 15th, now running in 5th. The only other driver to pick up more than 2 spots here tonight is Bill Edwards. I mean, that is how tight this field has been. Edwards picked up 4. Bronson Stafford has picked up 10. Then Robert Kenny, Mike Tellier, and Bob Giaquinto have all picked up 2 positions here tonight, but everyone else has just kind of picked up 1 spot or lost positions. Of course, you want to be a positive number, but a lot of the people losing positions are at the hands of this driver right here, Bronson Stafford. Good job in the Hugger Oranges, number 61, to march his way through the field here tonight. Meanwhile, we'll go back up to this battle a couple of car lengths ahead of him, as the 16 and the 75, well, they just can't get away from one another. I'm just curious to know which one of these drivers is going to be the first one on pit road to make their final pit stop. I think that is going to be an interesting cause. Mike Floppy Tellier has made it to pit lane, finally. Looks like Tellier is making his 3rd and final stop of the night, so the pit window is now open. Garrett, drivers making their final stops for sure.
Yeah, they're making their final stops, and then a lot of these guys, short pitting might be able to give them that little bit of track position that they need. The lap or 2 advantage on fresher tires, making up that time on the racetrack, could pay dividends when it comes to the end of this race. Now, if you're Philip Scott, you're playing the game. When is too soon to pit? Could a caution come out and not necessarily ruin his chances at winning, but it could be very inconvenient depending on if everyone else is able to pit before him and get out on those tires and not have to make a pit stop if yellow was to come out. So I think Philip is going to try to play this absolutely to perfection, but it might be safer to get the pit road as soon as you start seeing the majority of the cars peel off. You do not want to be the last one to pit road if you're the leader and have a 6-second lead.
Yeah, you definitely do not want to blow that. You also don't want to have what happened to Chuck Sweeting happen to you. You guys got to be a little bit gentle coming down pit road, especially when you have that nice healthy margin of 6 seconds currently between Philip Scott and second placed Bill Edwards as the laps continue to click away. I'm a bit surprised Chuck Sweeting was able to run down Bourne in the number 16, but for right now, Bourne has been able to be very, very fast, cranking out hot laps, running down Bill Edwards in front of him. The number 75 and the number 5 and the number 16 have been pretty much clicking off similar lap times, but as you can see here, at least for the last 4, 3rd place of Bourne is closing in about 0.7 of a second off of the gap between those two over the last handful of laps, as Bill Edwards coming down pit road right now, making his final pit stop of the night. We'll make sure he gets into his pit box nice and neatly, and does. Good job there by Bill. Always a solid pit road entry from Bill Edwards, and don't see all too many mistakes from the number 5 driver. He'll come down to his pit crew. Don't prove me wrong here, Bill. Hit your pit box. Thank you. I'm about to say, perfect there, Garrett, if he slid through his pit box there, I would have looked like a fool.
Yeah, we call that pulling a Chris Starling, our good friend that we've known for many years. Chris had a good run on our 3Y TV broadcast where it was like 5 weeks in a row that he just missed his spot. We thought he was messing with us. He was doing so often, but Phil Scott, service done, back on the racetrack, and hopefully he's hoping for a nice, quiet remainder of this race. Knock these 15 laps off with very little issue. And pitting before the 75 and 16 should be able to give him an advantage to gap them even further. And we'll see where Bill Edwards comes out in relation to Philip Scott. Looks like the gap is about the same on the ticker doing the math, but we'll see once everything cycles through.
Meanwhile, Chuck Sweeting has actually been able to, or was able to, get around the number 16 machine while we were looking away at a couple drivers peeling off onto pit road. Now it looks like Bourne has come down pit road himself, so Chuck Sweeting still out there on the racetrack is our current race leader, but probably dreading coming down pit road, Garrett, after what happened to him. Just a handful of laps ago on lap number 32, lost the back end. Coming down pit road, probably going to be a little bit more gentle this time, maybe crank the brake bias forward just a little bit. We'll keep our eyes on Chuck as he makes his way through turn number 3. Expect to see him pull off onto pit road right here. Yep, he's hugging it nice and tight. We'll get on the brakes. And late on the brakes, doing a good job here. Back end getting a little bit happy on him. Just got a little bit light, but he was able to keep it underneath him. and he will come down to his iRacing.com pit crew here for his final stop of the night. Also joining him on pit road, been a quiet night for Robert Kenny, but the number 34, after making some early contact with the wall, looks like the crew was able to beat out the fender, and don't see any damage now on the drumstick machine. That not a good lick out of turn number 1. Hits his pit crew nice and neatly as well. Chuck Sweeting still in his box. He's down and away. Philip Scott, speaking of down and away, he's already down and away towards turn number 1. It has been complete lights out for the World Ninja League machine. He has been on a tear here tonight at Pocono, keeping all 4 fenders nice and clean so far. 13 laps ago. We'll make it 12 this time. 12 laps here, though, is 30 miles. So still 30 miles to work your way around this joint. It's a long one. 3 tricky corners. They call it the tricky triangle for a reason. Here we go. Here's Bronson Stafford, the number 61 machine. He is right behind the number 75, Chuck Sweeting. So Bronson Stafford here, Garrett, continuing his march up through the field, as they have actually gotten around Tom Bourne. The number 16 of Bourne is a little bit further back here. Maybe not a great stop on the number 16, as he lost that spot to Chuck Sweeting just before the round of pit stops. But he's also lost a spot to Bronson Stafford as well.
Yeah, certainly did lose that spot, and I'm very impressed with Bronson Stafford also, Peter. And I've talked about this, I think, before on broadcast, but I've known Bronson just from our super speedway races. He would show up and just have great runs there, but I'm starting to get that appreciation for Bronson as just a guy that is fast everywhere every week, and somebody that certainly, as we go forward into the season towards the championship, that we have to keep our eye on in that 61 Hugger Oranges machine. But Tom Bourne, nothing wrong with he's running 4th place in this. I'm sorry, 5th place in a stacked field. But Peter, one more thing, Chuck Sweeting. We talked about him losing 9 seconds or so on that pit stop. Like you mentioned, he's 9 seconds behind Philip Scott. Was that the difference in him being in contention for this win? It's hard to. The math's not lying right now, Peter.
That was definitely the difference between him and Bill Edwards right now. We'll just leave it at that. I don't think there's anyone at home that would argue otherwise, as Bill finds himself 5 seconds behind Philip Scott at this current junction, and then Chuck is another 4 seconds back behind Bill. And then Bronson Stafford in the number 61 back there. Everyone at home probably wondering about Jake Bustos. Where is Bustos? Well, the driver who has only pitted twice here tonight, looking to save fuel all the way to the end and only pit twice. Well, unfortunately, it's kind of gone south here, Garrett, as Bustos is currently riding on the fringe of dropping out of the top 10. He's got Vincent Valvano behind him, Mike Floppy Tellier behind him. Tellier is about 5 or 6 seconds behind him, and Tellier is much, much faster because Bustos is having to save as much fuel. It seems like the 3-stop strategy was the way to go, at least if we don't get a caution flag. I was going to say we don't get another caution flag, but we have yet to have a caution flag here tonight. Been green flag all the way since the drop of the green flag here in the Talkin Giants 150 here on 3 Wide TV. So big shout out to all these drivers keeping it nice and clean. 10 laps to go, 25 miles for Philip Scott, Bill Edwards, Chuck Sweeting, and then maybe a charge from Bronson Stafford for that 3rd spot as the race continues to charge on. This is the only battle, however, at this current junction, Garrett, that is under a second. Bob Giaquinto and Matt Muir in the number 77 are close to one another as well. We'll keep our eyes to see if any battles do develop out there on the racetrack as the lap count winds down, but we'll keep our eyes glued on these 3 drivers inside our top 5.
Yeah, this is certainly, like you said, the best battle on the racetrack. And Peter, I just want to give everybody a little peek behind the curtain here from administrative perspective and broadcast perspective. For us, we love green flag racing. At a place like Pocono, it's kind of like a road course. Cars get strung out, and it might not be the most exciting thing from a viewership perspective, and that's kind of the balance you play with rolling stage cautions and not throwing the yellow flag to bunch everybody back up. It's a give and take between the green flag racing that everyone loves and getting spaced out at a huge track here like Pocono. But these guys who have been battling, especially this nice battle here in our top 5, have put on a show worthy of 3YTV and the half of a broadcast that you guys heard us for.
Yeah, specifically the better half of the broadcast that you heard us for is everyone going around the number 64 machine here. Definitely hasn't been the night that Vincent Valvano was hoping for. I know Vinny has been putting together some pretty solid rides recently here in the Total Nonstop Racing League, but tonight just not quite able to find the pace at Pocono. This is one of those racetracks, Garrett, where you either love it or you kind of hate it. It definitely is a different type of racetrack. It can be hard to find your rhythm here just because of the fact that it is 3 unique corners that all kind of race a little bit differently. And I know Vinny has been working on his racecraft and his pace, continuously improving. But here tonight, doesn't quite seem like Vincent has found that rhythm he's needed.
No, certainly not, Peter. And I expected Vinny to run, to have a little more speed in that number 64 Talkin Giants Ford tonight, because Vinny has spent time in this area. Pocono it has to be a place that he grew up going to, being around, and racing. And it's, as somebody who's from Pennsylvania myself, this is always a place that I took pride in being able to run somewhat decently at. And over the years, believe it or not, I have had some good runs here, going back to the NR 2003 days, although I think my driving days are well behind me. But when it's a home track, it means a little more, and I think Vinny's probably a little bit discouraged with running just inside the top 15 in that Talkin Giants machine. But it's a long season. Vinny has proven himself to be getting better and better and very consistent. But I think at this point, he's ready for Pocono to be over and be on to our bye week next week, and then Lucas Oil, I believe, after that.
Yeah, that is for sure. Definitely some good races coming up that we'll be expecting to see Vincent Valvano nice and fast at. That is for certain. Meanwhile, up at the front of the field, Philip Scott still clicking off lap times, keeping all 4 quarters nice and clean. 6 laps to go, 5 seconds over Bill Edwards. Chuck Sweeting is on an absolute tear right now. He has dropped that gap between himself and Bill Edwards from about 9 seconds down to almost 1.5 seconds, Garrett. Chuck is flying around this joint. Not sure if he'll have enough time to catch Bill Edwards, but even if he is able to catch him, catching him is one thing, passing is another. And this is a racetrack that we've already seen has been proving a little bit difficult to make a pass for position. The one driver that we've seen probably make the most passes here today is this one right here. So we'll see. 5 laps to go. Chuck Sweeting closing in on 1.5 seconds. He'll have to be 0.3 of a second faster. There's 3 corners to do it. Make up 1/10 of a second per corner, Garrett, and he'll be right on him at the checkered flag.
Yeah, Chuck's going to do all he can here to get to the second place, Bill Edwards, but we can't say enough about Bill Edwards being in second place. This is a very solid run for Bill, and somebody that's always a championship contender and very consistent. And it's good to see Bill getting a potential podium here with 5 laps to go. And Shane Ewing and John Cannizzaro battling back in the field. John's car has actually been able to last the entire race with his driving style, which is kind of a rare feat nowadays. That a wild child usually is pretty rough on equipment. And Shane Ewing, 7th place, not as far up towards the front as I'd expect to see him. I think he's another one of those drivers I'll be glad when Pocono's over.
Yeah, on board here with Shane Ewing and the number 32 machine heading down the front stretch underneath the flagman. He will have a peek to the inside of Cannizzaro Jr. I thought maybe the right front damage on the number 82 would hurt him down the straightaway, Garrett, but it doesn't seem like it's been affecting Cannizzaro as much as I thought it would, as you see the back end of that number 82 get a little bit sideways. Good stuff here from on board Shane Ewing as he has a look to the inside of turn number 2. Late on the brakes, gonna get it woed up here, trying to nurse it through the corner. Can he clear Cannizzaro up off the corner? Not able to do so. Not yet. Now Cannizzaro can make life difficult in turn number 3. Well, as I say that, finally, Ewing able to clear him, but Cannizzaro going to try and do the crossover move, try and get underneath him, slides up the racetrack, gets the air off the rear spoiler of Ewing, gets him a little bit sideways, and they're going to be on a draft battle down the front stretch. That number 82 in tow. But with that damage, just I don't think able to quite get enough speed to get around Ewing. Now Canizaro going to try and have a look underneath him. Good run out of turn number 1. Canizaro uses up all the racetrack. He's going to have a peak. No peak. I think it's that damage, Garrett. You can tell Canizaro got such a good run off of turn number 1, and then Ewing just slowly started to creep away down the backstretch. I just got to chalk it up to that damage on the right front of Canizaro's Dodge.
Yeah, Canizaro's got a little bit of a parachute effect going there for him, but he is driving the heck out of that number 82 in the corners, as we see right here. And I'm not sure if Shane's enjoying this as much as we are on the broadcast. It looks like a whole bunch of fun. John's actually going to have the inside lane here into the turn if he wants to drive it in like a madman, and I kind of expect him to, Peter, because that's what he does, but he gave a little bit of a wiggle there, and Shane might be able to get the momentum on exit. And I'm just going to keep holding my mic till I figure out what happens, Peter, because I want to take credit for whatever it is.
2 laps to go. Up in the battle for second, Bill Edwards has basically been caught here, Garrett. We're coming to the white flag this time. They're not going to have anything for Philip Scott, who's out front by 5 seconds, but this has been mighty impressive for Chuck Sweeting, coming up from that big mistake on pit road. Lost 9 seconds on our race leader, Philip Scott. He has been able to run down Bill Edwards as a white flag is in the air. He's going to look to the outside towards turn number 1. Is he going to cut back underneath? No, I thought he was going to, but he's going to try and back up turn number 1. Going to use that low line. Edwards washes up the racetrack, and just like that, Chuck Sweeting, with that move, able to get up into second. What a run this has been. What a recovery this has been for the number 75, but Edwards is not gonna back down. As a little bit of side drafting down the backstretch, and a hard charge into turn number 2 around the outside has put Edwards back in front. What a move on the high line.
That Bill Edwards infectious laugh is going on right now. He is laughing like a little kid inside that race car, hoping to hold on for one more turn here against Chuck Sweeting. And I was going to ask you, Peter, what line to take, and I guess we know who won this race and what line he took. And wow, what a dominating performance as we're coming to as these other guys are coming to the checkered flag. Bill Edwards holds on to second place, Chuck Sweeting in third, Bronson Stafford passing a lot of cars to come in fourth, and Tom Bourne rounding out your top 5. But what a dominant run by the 99 of Philip Scott.
Yeah, Philip Scott, besides the laps that were led by others during the round of pit stops, did not lead a lap besides those ones in pit stops. So just was out front. No one passed him the entire race, but when he was on pit road, very impressive from the World Ninja League driver here. Getting a win for Dodge as well. We got a couple of wins at the beginning of the season for Ford. Then we got Chevy winning last week, Dodge here tonight, and I can't recall who won a couple of weeks back at Atlanta off the top of my head, Garrett, but nonetheless, it's good to see a Dodge in victory lane.
Yeah, Tom Bourne actually won in Atlanta. I believe that's a Greg Biffle Ford. So we've gotten a bunch of manufacturers covered this year, and that move to Dodge, not taking any speed out of that 99 of Philip Scott. And Peter, I think he's getting pretty good at the burnouts after all this practice he's getting winning these total nonstop racing events.
Yeah, well, I mean, he gets his practice after the race, unlike Tellier, who practices before the race when it doesn't matter. That number 97 doing burnouts a little bit early here tonight at Pocono. They're in practice, but it's the number 99, 2 numbers higher, that gets the job done. But we're going to get some post-race interviews for everyone. It was Bill Edwards able to hold on to second after that very, very, very spirited battle from Chuck Sweeting. Very impressive, able to run them down like he did. And, of course, we will get a quick word here with Chuck Sweeting momentarily here on 3Y TV, as well as Bill Edwards, as we often do, and our race winner, Philip Scott here tonight, and I'm sure Philip will have a few things to say because, well, Philip usually does have a few things to say when we do interview him up here in the 3Y TV booth. Wouldn't be the first time that we've got a novel from Philip Scott. Let's see, though, if we can start with tonight's third place finisher, Chuck Sweeting, and hear what Chuck has to say about that recovery from his pit road mishap. Chuck Sweeting, Peter Short, 3Y TV booth. You got a copy?
Hey, Peter, how's it going, man? It's been a long time.
It has been a long time, and I speak of the battles you and I used to have out there on the racetrack very often. Definitely, you're one of those race car drivers that I love racing around, and you definitely aren't one to put others in a difficult situation. You race everyone clean, but unfortunately, pit road can be another story. And here tonight, that pit road mishap. Great recovery for you in that number 75, but you must be kicking yourself.
Oh, yeah, I think I might have had a shot at Philip, although he was fast the whole night. So, catching him would have been one thing, passing another, as you know. But, yeah, just one of those mistakes, pit road. You can't make mistakes like that when you got a group of guys this fast. So, yeah, I'll work on it. The setup was really tough to drive tonight. It was so tight on entry and center, and then over-rotated so bad on exit. It was a handful. So I'll take third place. That was a pretty good run. Nice, clean race. And, yeah, I managed to survive it, even after that mishap.
Well, I saw you there on that final lap, really back up turn number 1, likely because of what you were just saying. It was really tight on entry to turn number 1, but a really good battle there at the end. And you mentioned just how close this field is. I was actually admiring during the race here tonight the I-rating of the field. I know a lot of people don't really know what I-rating is, but I-rating it's an indicator of how fast someone is. And this league, from top to bottom, we got 2300s all the way through 3000s, 4000s. This is a very tight field when you look at I-rating as well. I mean, it is a good quality field here that TNR has put together.
Yeah, it really is. And, I've raced with a lot of these guys in different leagues over the years, so I know how good they can be at times. And, yeah, if you get a win with this league, you've definitely earned it. I was kind of thinking Bronson was going to catch me there during that last run, but he was struggling a little bit more than me, I think. But yeah, it's just top to bottom good, and they're clean racers too. Daytona's its own little thing, but since then it's just been clean and green the whole time, and it's been awesome racing.
Yeah, no caution flags to mention here at the Tricky Triangle here at Pocono, and that might make the field a little bit spread out, but from the driver's seat, there's nothing better than going out there, getting 60 clean laps in, and knowing that the job was done the best you can. But we go from tonight at Pocono to Lucas Oil next week. A little bit of short track racing. If we can get through Lucas Oil with no cautions, that would be kind of a shock in my book. But what are your thoughts about the short track?
Yeah, I agree. That'd be a miracle. But I won't say I'm bad there, but I've never had success there. Have never felt comfortable there. I don't mind running up by the wall, which is what you usually have to do there. But I don't know. It's an awkward feeling track to me. So if I'm not fast in practice, I might just try to ride around most of the race, keep it clean, and then try to figure it out as the race goes on, and then make a run for it at the end. We'll just have to see what it's like, see what the setup's like, and the weather and all. But yeah, it's definitely not one of my favorite tracks, but we'll give it our best.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that feels that way, Chuck. Anyway, we'll see you next week. Before we let you go, any shout-outs you'd like to give out?
Just thanks to the league, all the admins, and all the hard work they do, and just really appreciate all the respect on the racetrack with all the other drivers. And looking forward to next week, and hopefully we can bring it home in one piece at least.
Well, folks, that is tonight's third place finisher, Chuck Sweeting. Chuck, like I said, we'll see you again next week.
All right. Thanks a lot, Peter.
All right, well, it's time now to go down to tonight's runner-up, and that is the number 5 machine of Bill Edwards. I believe Garrett has caught up with Bill.
Hey, Bill, it's been a while. I haven't gotten to talk to you and make fun of you and pick on you, but what I want to talk about first is that laugh. I mentioned that on the broadcast, that last lap, that battle with Chuck Sweeting for second place. Were you nervous? Did you laugh and giggle a little bit? Because I assumed you were having the time of your life because that was a tremendous battle you guys had.
Oh yeah, that was a blast. I knew he was coming, and for every stint, well, I mean, he was ahead of me in the first stint, and then the second stint, he was. I think he had a problem in pit lane, and I'm like, well, dang it, he's still leaving pit lane about the same time as me. So I figured I was going to have an issue with him eventually. And turn 3, he was chopping off 3/10 every turn 3, and I was like doing the math in my head. I'm like, he's going to be right there. Yeah, I think he just let off and let me have it instead of wrecking both of us because I was probably I was driving a little aggressive and trying to throw a block and pinch him and everything else. But hey, it's last lap, so you got to do something, right?
Absolutely, and you certainly did. And coming home in second place, not the worst thing in the world, that's for sure. But we talked to Chuck before we were interviewing you, and Chuck said the setup was kind of a mess. It was a handful out there. Is that how you felt behind the wheel tonight?
It was loose, but you always tend to be a little bit loose. It felt sporty to me. I was happy with it. My tire wear was even on every run. No, I liked it. So it just maybe just suited the way I drove or something a little bit better. But it was definitely loose. But it does tend to be a little bit loose sometimes. So.
That's fair enough, I guess. I mean, we're going to ask Philip what he thought of the setup, but I don't think he's going to have any complaints with the 5-second win that he had. But Bill,
I mean, the setup didn't see. I think the car itself just, I mean, with all that horsepower, it's hard not to have it be a little bit loose.
Now, Bill, I'm going to have to admit to a mistake here live on air, and you and Peter could both give it to me if need be. But there may have been a typo on the schedule page, and I was looking at Bob's schedule, that if Peter is not on vacation for some reason next week, we are not at Lucas Oil. We are at Chicagoland, and that was just happened to be omitted from the typed version of the schedule. So if we're going to Chicagoland next week, Bill, what are your thoughts?
Oh, yeah, I see. Lucas Oil. I'm fine with either. Chicagoland's good. It's a fun track. I tend to do okay there. I mean, those half-mile ovals aren't really my specialty, but I'll be all right with it. I'd rather have Lucas Oil.
Well, that'll be the week after, so you just have to wait an extra week for gratification. They tell me delayed gratification is a thing. I've been waiting 33 years for somebody to love me, and it still hasn't happened yet. But I guess it'll be great when it does, Bill. Thanks for bringing that up.
Well, just don't give up hope. There's always a chance.
I guess so. Congratulations on your second place. Before I let you go, if you'd like to give your shout-outs, I know your fans are always in the chat, and good thing for them tonight, they didn't get to hear me for half of the broadcast.
Yeah, I gotta give a shout out to my mom for watching every week. Finally got back in the booth, so I'm pumped about that. Gotta give a shout out to TNR, 3Y TV. Glad you're back, Peter. I gotta give a shout out to S2R, my teammates. I don't think Lorella was there tonight, but and then I'm gonna give a shout out to Talkin Giants. That car Vinny drives looks really nice for some reason.
Yeah, the guy that painted it, he's pretty good at a lot of things, and he had a good run tonight, and he's very good at design, so we thank you for doing that for the Talkin Giants guys. Fatal Concepts, you actually surprised me. I did not know. I knew you did the designs, but I did not know you were as good as you are, and I know that kind of sounds like an underhanded compliment, but no, you really do surprise me. You are that good and amazing at what you do.
Garrett, he's been practicing his entire 97-year-old life.
That's right.
It just has to, like, I guess it helps your artistic process, Peter, when you have to strap the horse to the buggy on the way to the store to go get like the thing to mix the paints, where you have to mash it, different colors together. It's a whole process, Peter. That's probably why he's so good at what he does.
Yeah, Bill Edwards and Pepperidge Farm, remember.
I don't know about the mix and paint things, but you get supercharged if you eat those paint chips when they peel.
Well, that sounds good. We're gonna go from mixing paint to I'm gonna see if I can huff some paint while Peter goes through. No, you know what, Peter, I'd pass out because Philip's interviews are pretty long. But we're good. Thanks to Bill for that review on second place, and I'll throw it down to victory lane with my good friends Peter Short and my other good friend Ninja Phil.
All right, take it easy, guys.
We'll see you, Bill, down in victory lane with Philip Scott and the number 99 machine. Now, a lot of people at home think that we might have had some type of microphone issue during the middle of the race, and maybe that's why we went quiet. We actually went quiet because we fell asleep because Philip Scott was out leading the whole entire race. Philip, I'm surprised you didn't fall asleep behind the wheel in that number 99 machine because you were out front. There wasn't a time you got passed out there on the racetrack. The only time you didn't lead lap was during pit sequences. What was it about that number 99 that made it so fast tonight?
Yeah, so actually, really, this car suits me really good. I'm really glad we all decided to go to the Gen 4. I love sliding. I love big power, throttle control, all that. And especially after last year, finally getting the championship, last season, finally getting the championship after fighting for so long, working my way up. I want nothing less than two-peating. Obviously, that's a kind of a tall order. But yeah, I really like Pocono. It's like a road course. So, fun fact, this is my first ever TNR oval win, technically, which is kind of crazy to think. But it's not really an oval, though. It's a triangle.
Yes, I think all the fans of turn number 4 would be saying, nope, this isn't an oval. And all the fans of three-cornered racetracks would also be saying the same. So you corrected yourself. We'll just have to wait for that first oval win, but I'll make sure to jot that one down in my little notebook. But Philip, it was very, very fast. You even had the pole here tonight. I mean, what was going through your mind when you started on pole? Did you really realize at that point that you felt like you had a shot tonight?
Oh, yeah, I was 96 Brandon. Me and him are good buds. He joined the league this year, and so we're always chatting, joking around during the race, and I think that's helped out a lot. I told him before the race, I'm like, I feel like I could win this one because Atlanta, I led the most laps, just got unlucky on fuel strategy. Didn't think that they'd make it on fuel, and they did. And then Phoenix, it went dark, and I also started from the rear because I spun in qualifying and still finished third. So I felt really strong in this car this season. I've just always been about building that confidence level up and up over the past 3 years that I've raced with you guys, and now, I really love the group that we have now, especially all the regulars that we've always had, like Bill, and then Chuck's coming and he's super good. It's really hard to hold him off because I just hyper analyze every tenth he takes away from me. Like, how did he get that? How did he get that? How is he saving? And I got a little lucky with he must have had some mistake or something on pit road because I knew that he was going to be in front of me when he pit early. And all of a sudden I see he was like 6 seconds behind me. I'm like, what? So I knew that I could afford to undercut because usually I could never undercut Chuck because he'd just drive away. He just managed the gap, managed the delta, and drive away. So he's been a really fun rabbit to chase because he's just been so fast.
Yeah, Chuck definitely had a little bit of a pit road mishap. You can go back and watch the 3-wide TV replay. I think we had audio at that point. I think we'd woken back up. But, great win for you here tonight, Philip. And I've also been told now that the schedule that is in picture format that I have is wrong, and we're actually going to Chicagoland next week. What are your thoughts about that oval racetrack?
Oh, yeah. Chicagoland's awesome. I can't wait to try it out, get some laps in with this car because I feel like Chicagoland's one of those tracks where other different lines could work. I feel like I could rip the high line later on in the run. We'll see. Because it might be one of the tracks that has extra grip up there. I know that iRacing doesn't exactly have dynamic track right now, but I know they're working on it.
Yes, they're working on that. They're also working on rain. Maybe we'll get them both at the same time. Who knows? Soon, trademark iRacing. But before I let you go, Philip, any shout-outs you'd like to give out?
Yeah, of course. Shout-outs to, obviously, World Ninja League. Check us out at worldninjaleague.org. We've got a lot of cool... Follow us on Instagram. We've got a lot of cool stuff happening lately. Big competition coming up. Our first of the Premier Series, which is the top 25% ninjas of all ages are competing in all summer long at exclusive tournaments. And I've been working on the live stream production side of things, getting everything ready. Don't worry, Peter, I won't take your job. Yeah.
It's okay. People are coming for my job after tonight. I mean, we were muted for like 20 laps.
No, it's all good, man. Appreciate what you do.
Well, Philip, we do appreciate that here at 3 Wide TV, and congratulations on getting the win here tonight at the Tricky Triangle in Long Pond, Pennsylvania, and we'll see you next week in Chicago.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, well, that's going to do it for our post-race interviews here tonight on 3 Wide TV. Let's see, Garrett, if we can bring up the final race results for everyone back at home to check out where their favorite driver finished. Garrett, take it away.
Yeah, Philip Scott, the number 99, just tucked him in victory lane. Great job by Philip taking home the win. Bill Edwards in second place and Chuck Sweeting in third place will round out our podium. Bronson Stafford passed a lot of cars on the racetrack tonight. No shame in that fourth place finish. Tom Bourne in the number 16 machine rounds out our top 5. John Cannizzaro with that damaged number 82 Mopar machine coming home in sixth place. Not too shabby. He had a good battle there with Shane Ewing, who will finish in seventh. Robert Kenny in the number 34 will finish 8th. Jake Bustos on that two-stop strategy, which I'm still impressed by, who will come home in 9th, and his teammate DJ Weeks will round out our top 10, Peter.
Yeah, those 9th and 10th place drivers, the only two drivers to make the two-stop strategy work. Mike Floppy Tellier finishing in 11th. Bob Giaquinto in 12th. Matt Moyer 13th. Vincent Valbano 14th. Jonathan Gaston in 15th. Jason Schue in 16th here tonight. And then Brandon Bookwald, who left the racetrack a little bit early, as did Johnny Williams down in 18th here tonight. 18 drivers took the green flag, and only 16 of them finished here tonight at Pocono Raceway. Well, Garrett, Chicagoland next week, 1.5 miles. Going to be a lot of fun to see what all shakes out there. Been a lot of green flag running so far this season. Let's see if we can keep that going next week at Chicagoland.
Yeah, Chicagoland's one of those places I love to race. I love the broadcast, and I think these guys will have a tremendous time running there next week and put on a good show for us and our 3 Wide TV audience. So it's a pleasure to be back here on 3 Wide TV, and I hope everyone tunes in next week. Thanks to everybody, drivers, sponsors, and especially you, Peter, for doing this for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Want to give a huge shout out to Danae Jewelers as well, one of the series sponsors here in the Shoes Lawn Care Service Cup Series. Of course, also Talkin Giants and Stay Tuned Sports, a couple of podcasts talking about sports. What's better than listening to sports and getting esports here on 3Y TV as well? I mean, there's nothing better than that. So go check out Talkin Giants and Stay Tuned Sports. You get a little bit of New York Giants. You get a little bit of Philadelphia Eagles. I'm a Cowboys fan. We're just missing that Washington Commanders fan. So they're the bogey team. We get to say what we want about the Washington Commanders. I'm sure someone in chat will ping me here on the Discord or something about that and say, "Hey, I'm a Washington Commanders fan." Then we'll have to be quiet about that. But folks, thanks for tuning in here tonight on 3Y TV. Apologize for the mishap earlier in the show. But for myself, Peter Short, Garrett Gleason, and everyone else that's part of the 3Y TV family, stay safe and all that good stuff. And we shall see ya!